Automattic, the parent company of WordPress.com, Tumblr, WooCommerce, Jetpack, and more, announcing a new funding round, bringing the company's total valuation to $7.5 billion. So joining me now with more is Cheddar's senior reporter, Michelle Castillo. Michelle?
Thanks, Kristen. To talk more about Automattic's new announcement, we're joined today by Matt Mullenweg. He's the CEO of Automattic. So Matt, thanks so much for joining us today, and congrats on the new funding round.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
So what's the plan for the new infusion of funds?
Our mission is to democratize publishing and commerce, and particularly the commerce side of our business has been vastly accelerated over the past year. We have a product called WooCommerce, which is built on WordPress, and we're just going to try to invest in that as much as possible. We are hiring as fast as we can. We're probably going to do some more acquisitions in that space, and building out the software so we can democratize access for anyone to sell things online like we did for publishing.
You know, one thing that's fascinated me about Automattic is the fact that you guys have a work remote policy, and you've had that for years. A lot of companies are trying to figure out if they want to keep their work remote policy throughout the pandemic and past the pandemic. Why did you guys make that decision so many years ago?
When we started being fully remote, which was, I guess, 15 or 16 years ago, it was the best way to access the best talent in the world, because you don't have to limit yourself just to folks who are going to go into an office every day. I think that's still true. There's some fantastic people in the Bay Area, but there's 7.9 billion others in other places. So if you're a business for whom talent is a key differentiator, then I would highly recommend you learning how to evolve your business to be fully inclusive of remote people. The worst thing you can probably do is have people in the office 2 or 3 days a week, because then you get the worst of both worlds. You get people not together every day, and you're forcing them to live within a certain radius of your office. So that would be my least recommendation.
You gave a couple of recommendations there, but what other advice do you have for companies that might be contemplating this work remote plan?
Well, everyone's been doing it, but remember that we've been doing it during a pandemic, which is not the best version of it. So I would say to keep in mind, even if last year was tough, it was tough for every company, including us, who's been doing this for over a decade. So know that when people are able to work from wherever they like, but there's no supply chain shortages, and they can still go out with their friends, or they can sort of live more normal lives outside of it, it's much, much more fun and healthier. I guess the final thing I'd say is that it's still important to get people together. So once everything is clear with the pandemic, we plan to go back to doing meetups, which are events where we bring together either teams, divisions, or occasionally the entire company in the same place at the same time. And those were always really, really fun. And I think it's a key ingredient to what made remote work for us, because that trust and communication that you build when you're together for a week or two a year is part of what powers you for the remainder of the year. So I recommend trying meetups once it's safe to do so.
I wanted to talk a little bit about one of Automattic's companies, Tumblr. Now, you guys acquired them for $3 million in 2019. Before that, they were acquired in 2013 for $1.1 billion. Why do you still see potential in the company?
Oh, wow. Tumblr has such an incredible community, so much activity, 80, 90,000 people signing up every single day, and so many creators. So there's so much toxicity and conflict being bred by the algorithms on Twitter and Facebook that we're finding more and more people, particularly a younger generation, wants a place where they can be free, express themselves creatively, and connect with others around their interest. And that's what Tumblr is. Amazingly, the primary demographic of Tumblr is still that 13 to 25 that it had 10 years ago. So a lot of people graduate from Tumblr, but an entire new generation came in. So when you have that amount of activity and that passionate of an audience, I think there's a ton of opportunity. What we're primarily focused on since the acquisition is really fixing up the product, making sure that's a safe place for a conversation. There's no hate speech, there's no bullying, and making sure it's really, really fast in performance. And then rolling out some of the features that people have been asking for years. We just announced one that will be launching in fall called Post Plus, which is a way for creators on Tumblr, publishers, to put certain of their content, some of their posts behind a membership. So if you really like a site for $3 a month, $5 a month, or $10 a month, you can support them. And this is a great alternative to like, I think it's Ko-fi and Patreon that people are primarily doing this on before. So think of it like a built-in way to have your own Substack on Tumblr. And people are very excited about it.
Last question before we go. You guys have that $7.5 billion valuation. What are the IPO plans?
Oh, I think what this round shows, and what all of our funding has shown, is that the private markets are able to support very, very mature companies through, as we saw with like an Airbnb or Uber, to the high tens of billions, or with Stripe over 100 billion in valuation. So I think that the public markets aren't on our immediate radar, but it's been fantastic to have the support of fantastic new investors like BlackRock and Wellington to support our mission. And it's also fun because we are a primarily open source company. So it's great to see some of the most sophisticated investors in the world support the open source business model.
Well, thanks for your time today. That's Matt Mullenweg, who is the CEO of Automattic.